Everybody, welcome back and thank you for being here. I'm Yumble and we are on day 2 of Resfeber, our European city build. You can see we've already established our kind of medieval center in episode 1, and that will actually expand over into this area. This entire waterfront was taken up at one point by a medieval road system with all kinds of buildings, which we're going to get into today. But before I start adding buildings and services and things like that, I want to show you the roads that I'm using, actually. I've swapped out the small roads, which were another brick network. I've actually swapped them out for this network by Chameleon, and if it looks familiar, it should look familiar. It's the amusement park road, actually, but I selected it. Excuse me, it's an amusement park path that would have come with Park Life, but it's been repurposed by the asset creator Chameleon into actually a road network. This is a 5-mile-per-hour road network, which it's a European city, so 8 kilometers per hour is what this road is. It's going to be a multimodal network, so cars can drive on it because it is technically a road, but that also means services will be allowed in. Services and delivery trucks and all of the things that a path normally cannot sustain, this network will sustain. So this is going to allow me to keep the streets as narrow as possible because it's supposed to be like a medieval area, you know, it's supposed to be the roads are going to be much smaller and narrower, and the buildings are going to be crowding the roads quite a bit because this would have been all walled in and they would have been very cramped. So I'm trying to stay true to that, but I also opted to continue our bike network. This is a asymmetrical bike road. We've got this other bi-directional bike and car road, which is 25 miles per hour in kilometers for everybody else, 39 kilometers per hour. So still very slow, but compared to this 5-mile-per-hour medieval brick road, this is a super highway. So this is going to be where services are able to cut through, or at the waterfront, they'll be able to cut through or bike through before going to the multimodal road. And of course, I've added a pedestrian crossing over here. I've kind of refined this a little bit with some markings, but this is all crossable by pedestrians and cyclists, hopefully, but not by cars. I don't really want cars connecting this way. They can connect at the waterfront, they can go back up to the roundabouts. There may be other connections that happen, but I don't want them crossing here because this is the way into the city. So anyway, I'm going to mess around for a moment and try to figure out what this might look like, you know, what some buildings might look like in this area, and just see how these streets look with some added with some added buildings. Let's get some population in the city. How's that sound? And suddenly the city is alive. There we go. We've got people driving around. I've got way more cars here than I would prefer, but that is mainly because the only way to move into the city is via car, because the only connection to the outside world is this highway, right? Is this highway connection here. Eventually we're going to have a train, so the majority of people will be moving in via train to probably a tram to this area, but you can't move in by walking, you can't move in by bike. But once you're here, I find that a lot of people seem to abandon their cars because it's actually faster to walk. If you look at people on these walkways, they will outpace a car. Like, no questions asked. The bike is without question faster, but really everything is within walking distance at this point. So everybody that just moved in has found a parking spot. You know, I added some parking spots behind these buildings. Let me show you the buildings here. Let me show you what's going on. So a lot of the city is going to be kind of wall-to-wall row houses, very dense but not too tall, but also very mixed use. If you saw my video on mixed use, Europe is very, very good with mixed use. I'll find myself filling in areas like this, you know, so we'll turn this into a plaza eventually, probably, or like put a fountain in front of that building or what have you. But we've got a couple residences. We've got some residential in here, and we've got some commercial. I don't think we'll have enough people to actually operate a commercial building, but I thought it would look nice there. But the streets are starting to come together, and the way that I did this, these are not growable. Oh, here we go. For example, I want to show you a person outpacing a car, which I think is beautiful. A little dangerous, but beautiful. We don't actually want people driving here other than the services. So the police station, what else do we have? There's some trash vehicles here. You know, that's what that actually is. I've tucked it away and we'll cover it with buildings, but it'll be very functional and very close to where the action is. But what I'm really doing here to get these buildings, none of them are grown. They're all what's called plopped is the term. So I'm going in to find it. I'm turning off the vanilla assets because I've downloaded a whole bunch of assets. You can get the same assets that I have in the Steam Workshop by visiting the description and copying the link in the description into your browser, or just click it like a normal person. I'm hitting growable/Rico, and to fill in this space here, I would probably want a 2-unit wide building. So let's take a guess here. 1 unit. It can be whatever we want, really. There's no rules. But I'm in Find It. I've turned off the vanilla assets, so I'm only looking at custom assets. There we go. Nice little corner building. It doesn't necessarily match the building next to it, but this is going to be a very eclectic build, I figure. There's going to be a lot of different styles at work, a lot of different building types. But you'll see, I just go through Find It and kind of look around and find a building that matches. If you're looking for something specific, I'm looking for a ×2 building. So that should, putting that 2 times there, it goes up to 4. Oh no, it goes bigger than that, but for growables at least, they'll only ever go up to 4. But from here I can find whatever building I want. That looks good. Sure, why not? What is that? That's a residential. I'm not even necessarily paying attention to what type of building it is. I think Rico will develop. You know, as I go, Rico will change and Rico will develop the residential demand, the commercial demand, industrial offices, that whole thing. But I'm just going to kind of do what I want visually, and as that gets out of control, I'll nudge it where I want. You know, if I find there's disproportionate residential, in Find It, you just hit the high-density residential or low-density residential. I don't think I have that many low-density buildings. Oh, I do. I have some, like, some ancient low-density buildings and a lot of content creator pack buildings. Thieves Corner, okay. So I do have a low-density building in there, but mainly we're going to be dealing with these guys, with these high-density kind of wall-to-wall buildings. I've also added a church. I'd like to find a new home for this little older church, because this is actually a cemetery. I don't know that it needs to go near this church necessarily. Maybe there used to be another spot for this. You know, maybe it was right on the waterfront, right near the entrance or something like that. Let me find a good spot for that, and we'll build a road network around it, and I'll show you how this area can develop. Just a moment. So I think the way that I'm going to approach this is I've put it behind the church, and I'm just going to treat this as a graveyard and not so much a church. We'll just treat this as maybe it's the ancient church, but it's kind of turned into the graveyard maintenance building more so. But what I really want to do is use Bob. Bob is short for Beautify Our Builds, and you'll notice that there are these trees in there. You can't see them. There we go. There are these trees, and they are not as pretty as some of the other trees, because the other trees have already been replaced by me at some point. So I'd like to look up the generic tree pack, and I'm going to replace them with something, with a generic tree tiny. Let's see what that looks like. Might be a little too small. Generic tree small. Better. Closer. Warmer. Generic tree full small. There we go. Looks much better. I just wanted to show you how Bob works. And that's Alt-N to activate the mod. And you can swap out trees that are contained within pre-existing assets. I just wanted to share that with you. This is going to stay behind the church, and we'll detail this a bit later. But this is actually a cemetery, so it'll produce hearses to help out our buildings over here. Additionally to that, I've got police station. Like I said, this is trash. Eco-friendly trash, apparently, with the smokestack. I like the smokestack. The reason I'm going to allow trash to be here is because I think the smokestack is really, really cool. And I think this is going to look great when it's covered in buildings. And there's a smokestack peeking out. I think that's going to be amazing. But let's see what this area might be able to do. Let's see if we can't improve this network or increase this network into something good. I'm going to turn off road guidelines because I'm not going to need them for this, but I just want to make a road that goes back. Maybe another road that connects up here. I'll think about that, but let's see. Yes, I will put a road back here because I like the look of those windows being over a road, I think. And let's see what type of houses or what type of buildings I could fit here. I was messing with the graveyards, trying to see what I could do. We're going to do growable/Rico. custom only. And not necessarily, well, yeah, let's just look at high density houses because I think that's going to be the bulk of the assets that I want to use are going to be high density houses. And I'm going to redraw this road. You'll notice that the grid is kind of off. Though I'm plopping virtually everything here, I do want the grid to be a little bit better, and there's a few ways I can fix that. The first way that I'd recommend doing is simply redrawing the road. And there we go. The grid is fixed. That corner is now has fidelity to itself, where the building will snap where I want it to be. Maybe I'm looking for a corner building, though. Let's see. No. It's kind of cool, but it's backwards. Yeah, no, not that. Something like that wouldn't be bad. It would match the buildings next to it, at least. This building would probably be even better if there were, if it were covered, if that side were covered. But we are going to have bare sides from time to time. It happens. Well, that looks awesome. Let's keep going. More houses, more residential. What is this? Oh, that's the same thing. I'm still looking at corner, so now I don't want to look at corner. Let's just do some more regular row houses. Still eclectic, but not as, oh, very interesting. It'll form kind of a plaza back there. I don't need the area to match because these houses may have burned down over and over or been replaced over and over. And I don't need it to perfectly match. I don't really want parts of the city to stand out too much from one another. I'd rather keep it somewhat eclectic and more... Ooh. Well, so much for not matching. Oh, that's beautiful. It may end up covered up, but that looks great. Yeah, these match perfectly. I'm not sure if they were made by the same person or whatever, but it looks like the same thing behind. Though the facade does not match, which I kind of like. If I keep everything somewhat non-uniform and kind of eclectic and kind of all over the place, I think I'll be happier with the result. So I'm going to stand by that for now. Let's keep seeing what we can come up with here. I'm paying attention to what the backs of the buildings are doing as well, because really, we're going to see the back of the building as much as we see the front, I think. You know, there's going to be access. Maybe, like I added parking over here, we may end up adding parking over here. I don't want massive parking lots, but I'd like to have people... I'd like to enable those with automobiles to stash their cars behind where they live when possible. But that doesn't mean... I don't want to overemphasize the parking or anything like that. I just want there to be the option for people who need it, you know? Almost. Almost. Thanks for allowing me to show you a glimpse into my process. If I were real crazy, I'd do like half timbered everywhere, but these don't wall to wall very nicely. Maybe I will do a half timbered area, just not here necessarily. This area developed a little bit more. Ooh, hello. Not bad. This one's good, but it's not quite wall to wall, right? I'd like to think that they were utilizing the space here a bit aggressively, so it ends up being very dense. That's a little taller than what I want it to be. Let's see. That's not bad. I like that it's the same width as the building next to it. I like that the scale looks good, the doors look good. And this would make for another like trash pickup area / parking area behind the house. You can always use this guy. You can use building spawn points to move the spawn point to the back, which is what I've done on this commercial building actually. So the spawn point has been moved here, and if I've done it correctly, the trucks may come from this direction. If they don't, they'll come from this direction, and I'll have to move the spawn point. It's kind of whatever road is closest is where they tend to end up. But I'm just going to paddle around here for a little bit and see what kind of trouble I can get into adding houses in this section to up the density a little bit. So I'm developing this kind of messy little section here, which makes enough sense. I think it makes sense for the area, for what I'm going for. And I've got this 135-degree building here, but it won't snap anywhere that I want it to. So I just wanted to show you, with Move It, you can take the building. Many of you will know this, some of you might not, but you can take the building and approximate where it's supposed to go. First and foremost, make sure that it's rotated correctly. So rotate, click the triangle, rotate at center, click the road that you want it to mimic, or the road that you're trying to angle it towards. And then hold Alt, right-click and drag. You can turn the building to face the right direction. Now it's perfectly angled. And I'm going to hold control, which will allow me to visually nudge this into place, you know. The nudge keys, up, down, left, right, are not the most refined way to use Move It. Holding control actually is. And I've got this little alleyway all staged, so we can probably do garbage pickup from there. So I'm going to try to keep that distinction up for as long as I can, but I wanted to show you how I'm nudging these buildings into place, how sometimes they're not going to plop nicely, so you'll have to kind of finesse them where they belong. So I wish I could pretend like the game didn't just crash, but it definitely just crashed, and I had to make up some work. So this area looks a little different from what you just saw. Sorry for the continuity error. But I was able to extend this road and keep getting inspired up into this area, and we can really see what these streets are going to look like. You know, what the roads and what the narrow passageways are going to look like with the doors opening right to the street. I'd like to continue this road. I added some parking this way and just kept adding some row houses, things like that. And they're still looking for residential right now, like substantially. They're really looking for residential. So I'm going to keep trying to supply that demand. My logic here is that I think that it would be nice to have this open to the street. I can fix the lamppost if we need to, but I'd like to have that door opening to a nice road. We'll continue that. And let's see what we can cook up over here. Let's see if we can find a nice 90-degree, like a corner building. So I'm going to search growable/Rico custom all dimensions. I'm going to type corner and see what kind of trouble we can get into here. That's kind of nice. It might be slightly taller than what I was looking for, but the layering will be nice. Actually, it matches that area. If we can keep the buildings short here and make the buildings in the center a little taller, perhaps, we'll get a layering effect, which I'm a fan of. But that'll keep it visually interesting. Let's see, is there a building that matches that works? No. So let's go back into this growable/Rico. Not a corner building. Let's find something that fits with that, though. Doesn't have to fit perfectly, it just has to fit, period. Ah, okay. So this building actually stops just shy of the mark. So I'm going to pick a different corner building. This is just a glimpse into my process, basically. We're going to end up with a lot of different buildings because of the way I'm approaching this. We're going to be all over the place, but kind of in a good way, I think. Well, that looks really nice. So we'll start with that, and then we'll pick another building to go along next to it. I just keep scrolling through and stopping at almost a random point. If I decide I want a building with a red roof, hey, we'll find a building with a red roof. If not, then that's okay, you know? I'm just rolling with it. Those are identical. I don't necessarily need identical buildings next to each other, is part of the whole deal. Ooh, that almost fits, but it kind of goes over the edge. Perhaps that would be the way to go. And then we could put another building facing that way on the other side. Let's see what that does for us. I like it. A good mix, still. As I said in episode 1, I've never actually been to Europe. I'm sure that there's a much more distinct unification of styles, but I'm also sure that there are very eclectic areas of just different building styles, different dates of construction. Let's see, what would work here? Something small. Kind of try to nestle this building on the corner. Let's see what this does. I'm going to take Move It and just... We've already got an alley going on behind there. It looks like there's a swing set and such. I'm just going to match this up with this building using Move It, as I showed you before. And that just completes the alley. Now it's totally dumpster city, but the trash has to go somewhere, and that's okay. But that frees up this side for some more something. Let's see what that might look like. My process is going to look a lot like this, but repeat eternally, and then just try to come up with different areas and different concepts. Okay. If I want to close that area in, then that's all right. Do I want to close that area in? No. I don't mind closing it in, I just don't like that building, if I'm being perfectly honest. I downloaded way more assets than what I'm going to need for this project, so now it's just a matter of refining the assets that I want to use and making a lot of decisions. Like a lot of decisions, truly. Ooh, I could do that, but then I'm kind of blocking the back of that building. What does this look like? Oh. Very nice. I like that. Let's use a few buildings of this type. And I'm keeping the roads straight. A lot of people are opposed to having straight roads, but frankly, it makes my job a lot easier. I'm going to be dealing with a lot of assets, and the more snapping I can get away with, the better, if I'm being honest. So you can see if I can maintain the grid that appears, if I can maintain that, not perfectly, but somewhat consistently, it'll save me a lot of time, because this is going to be a lot of stuff overall. Where is this from? Oslo, okay. Nice brick building. Maybe I've got a nice 45-degree building that can fill this corner. Let's see. I'm just going to search 45 Global/Rico. I've already used this one. I haven't used this one, but how much space does it take up? Can we make this work? This is actually a high school here, so that's a high school building. I'd like to keep that. We've got a high school and an elementary school down here, so the people that are moving in can put their children in school. But will this 45 work? Or could I search all and maybe get a different result? Look at that, there's a bunch of 45s. These might be unique buildings that I haven't converted yet, or something like that. I don't have that many 45s. I've used this one, or one of these, over on the other side. Can I get away with this? Or perhaps if I move the high school. So let's stage that building, because I'm going to want something like that there. This is technically a Chicago building. So think of me what you will. That's of Chicago. Some Chicago pack. Let's see if we can pull this off. Move that out of the way. And then make some different decisions in here. Possibly. Once again, I'm going to take this and rotate it at center and make sure that it's 90'd off one of these angles. Probably this one. Very good. And once it's 90'd, once it's perpendicular to the road, nudged into place. Looking pretty good. And let's make some decisions on what can go in between. Look at this. You can see that we're getting somewhere, you know? It's all happening. It's going to look very layered by the end. It's going to look very colorful, honestly, which I don't mind at all. I kind of like it. I'm going to search by twos here, and that'll help me refine where this building goes. But I'm going to search wide open, Global/Rico, 2 units of any type of building. Oh, not 45. Here we go. Any type of building now. We've got cars coming in for all the residential that just went in. Love to see it. Is that Oslo again? Euro row. Euro. Oh, that's clever. The Euro. That's not bad. I might snug the 45 up against that building, but let's see if there's another building that would go here. And allow that parking spot to stay there. Let's see what happens. Another Euro. And we'll take this building and move it back up against those two. Sometimes I'm okay with the buildings sort of clipping together. Looks really good. I like that. Now the kind of the finishing touch to the whole thing. I'm going to save before I do this, because this was actually where I ran into trouble. Was the I took out the surface painting tool, and for some reason the game did not like the surface I was painting. So I don't always know how to avoid crashes necessarily. Maybe there's a conflict in the mods that I use. Maybe it's my system. Maybe it's the installation of cities. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I've got a clean build of the game going right now. But I do know that if I save often, I don't risk losing very much. So I'm going to keep saving progressively as I go and do my best. That looks good. Little completed triangle there. Bunch of different building types. Once again, way more cars than I'd like to see in general, but that's because we haven't built the train station yet. Hopefully people will be walking and biking and taking a tram, which hasn't been instated yet. Let me check my next move in this one. This is probably going to become a park today, I suspect. I'd like to have some more green space along with this one. This will kind of be a counterpart to this, closer to the waterfront. I think that's a good idea. Hold tight for just a moment. All right, progress update. So I've installed kind of a new little section over here. We've got a plaza. I figured I didn't really want to fit anything else here, so maybe we'd, hello. Okay. We've got a plaza here with a fountain in it, and this would be a bit more complete with some benches and maybe trash cans, things like that. But I like where it's headed. I like the position. I've got a curb network with this generic tree in it. There's a pack that comes in the, I've got a collection in the Steam Workshop. One of the dependencies of that collection is the generic tree pack. So I've got some generic trees in there, which are great. They're very flexible because they are generic, as the name implies. I've also got a town hall over here. Nostat. I'm going to butcher a lot of pronunciations here, but I've got that town hall, and it looks like... Okay, that's built into the asset. I didn't put that fountain there. I might figure out a way to fix that. Not right now, but I like the positioning of it. I like that it's kind of another tall feature to counterbalance the church, and the roof is red, so that's kind of cool. What else is new? This is a fire station. I'm not 100% sure that the fire station is going to stay, but I realize that every time I unpause the game, we're going to run into fire issues if I don't have a fire station. So that's one of several options that come in the collection that I've supplied in the description. There are some pretty heavy-handed ones. I didn't want to go too crazy. I'd like to space out my unique-looking buildings proportionally, but that is a really good start, I'd say. Looks really sharp. I also did a square of these kind of houses here. These are actually 4 different houses. It is the... Goodness, the pack that I'm using is extensive. All of the houses I'm using. It's called 2x2 Euro Corner, I believe will do it. I figured I'd stack a couple of those together and leave an alleyway where the dumpsters live. But yeah, the idea is there. The concepts are there. It's going to take me a very long time to cover this area in buildings because of the nature of the way I'm doing this and how tight things are and how narrow the streets are, things like that. But I do intend on doing some green space here, maybe another plaza over here. I don't want to forget with green space and plazas, I'd like to leave some open areas in all of this tight madness. But the idea is coming along great. I think next time we'll probably continue the houses, get some more buildings in here, make this dense area a bit more complete, and eventually, either next time or the time after, we're going to have to do our train station, which I'm very excited for, as well as some trams to get us into this area. I've already turned on biking, so we're going to see a lot of people biking, hopefully. Yep, multimodal street here. As I said before, the people can walk faster than the cars, so the cars are hopefully just for vehicles moving in until we have a train station complete with trams. Once again, that doesn't look like much, but the way that I'm doing this takes a very long time. But as we go, I think it's the way to make probably the best looking city in City Skylines is the one that you kind of paint by hand, rather than relying on growables to grow in randomly. Thanks a lot for watching. Feel free to subscribe to the channel here. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. We also have a Discord where you can post pictures of your city and ask other questions, things like that. I really appreciate you being here. Next episode comes out in a few days. My name is Yumble. Thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next stream or the next video.